Right, hello, welcome to late July Pat Chat 2022, our online get-together. Welcome to all of you attending live, hello, and welcome to those listening to the recording. Sorry you couldn't make it live, it's always difficult to accommodate everyone's time zones. So this is 6 p.m. Friday, 6 p.m. UK London time. I do apologize if it's not doesn't suit your time zone. So it's an opportunity for me to welcome new members to the Patreon club, and there's been a few. Mention any notable posts. Laura's going to make a little mention about a new initiative, yet another online get-together meeting, a little bit different to this. And then I'm going to just review last month's project, White River, Washington State, launch next month's project, which I think most of you know about now, and Sandy's picture. Sandy's on the call as well. We've got Sandy to blame for this one. And then I'll answer any questions you've got, those listening live, answer any questions you've got. So let me start off with new members, and apologies if I don't get your pronunciations, particularly some of the last names right. So Irit Avraham, sorry, Joseph, I might need to mute you with a bit of echo there. K. Hoof Nagel, I probably got that wrong. Jacques Martinez, and this is a great name, Frederick the Untouchable. That's a good name.
Must be from India.
Pardon?
Must be from India.
Yeah, the Untouchables. That was a great series from the 60s, wasn't it? Untouchable. Tuberia, nice and short. Chris Seddon, Janet H, Juan Carlos Garcia Quesada. There we are, Joseph. There's a name for you. Nathan Zeller, Thomas Nordhund, and then just an ordinary David, and Ashley H. I know Ashley's been contributing recently on the community tab, so I do know of Ashley. I don't think any of the others have made their presence sort of fairly public on Patreon yet, but welcome to those. Watch out for those names in the future. Let's give them some encouragement. Hopefully if they post any pictures on our community tab. Now, before I just review last month's project, Laurie had a fantastic idea of running another sort of parallel Pat Chat without me, because some days I'm quite busy and I can't, sometimes difficult to fit everything in. So Laurie had a great idea to run another sort of parallel mini Pat Chat without me. So Laurie, would you like to just fill in on how that went and maybe any plans for future ones?
Sure,
please?
Thanks, Tim. Well, first of all, it wasn't just my idea. It was actually generated at the last Tim Pat Chat, where people said, wow, we wish we could do this more often. And so I volunteered, since I have a free copy of Zoom, I volunteered to host a meeting. And so we did a kind of members meetup 2 weeks ago. And we had, well, let's see, of people on the call here right now, Sudhakar was on, and Ravi and Joseph. So, and several other people who joined. So we had about, I don't know, maybe 8 people, 6 or 8 people. And we just kind of shared our challenges with painting, some good ideas that people had. For example, we learned from Fazia how to use a toothbrush to clean, to remove paint from a piece of watercolor paper so you could reuse it. So we had ideas like that.
Hopefully that was a soft brush, a soft bristle brush.
I hope so. But she swears it works. So, but we had a lot of sharing of ideas and enjoyed just the opportunity to chat a little bit more. And so the consensus was, let's try it again, since Tim can't do more than one a month. In the intervening kind of 2 weeks, we're going to give it another shot, and hopefully more people will be able to come. So probably it will be 2 weeks from today. So we'll just kind of match up the 2-week period after Tim does it. And we'll do a post on the community tab, and maybe we can convince Tim to send out a post as well, because that goes by email to everybody, and with the information and the time and the Zoom link. And what we might, well, let me open it up to anyone who was on that call who'd like to add something.
Yes, if I may, first thanks, she's modest, but she did initiate the thing and ran it, if that's the right word, extremely well. Additionally, for what it's worth, that suggestion was tested out by me on one of the many rejected paintings I have, and it works. Soak it in the sink, lay it flat, or use a toothbrush. It does leave a ghost of the previous painting, as she said.
I'm looking for my toothbrush.
It's a redeemable piece of paper.
Oh, it's a brilliant idea. They're so useful, these sessions in picking up things. I'm learning things. And I haven't heard about the toothbrush one, but it sounds like a great idea. I'm one too, if I make a mistake, just forget it and go off and do something else, rather than maybe trying to, eke some extra life into it. But it's a great idea.
It's even good enough for a tonal value study, if one does that. So it has use, even testing color. It leaves a ghost. You know what you painted before, but it's almost like a fresh piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's
well, I hope we can try that again in the middle of the month. And yes, I will make mention of it as well. When you make your posts on the community tab, are you able to tag it in any way with some kind of keyword, or no, it's just a basic?
No.
Okay. The reason I ask is my interface is different to yours. And it's difficult sometimes for me to know exactly, which is why Laurie is doing a great job, and she's able to help people because she can see it from the other side of the fence. And I don't know why Patreon they have these subtle differences between the creator, me, and the members, you, as regards what you see. So
there's a huge
Laurie, you let me know, and I'll make a post on that. Sorry, Barb.
No, I was just going to say there's a huge difference between devices too. If I try to go in on my phone, I can't do a lot, but if I go in on the computer, it's a lot better.
Yeah. And I think Patreon are making some changes to the browser, the desktop browser interface as well. I've noticed some differences, some enhancements with the fonts and the layout in the last couple of weeks. So they will be making more changes as the year goes on. To enhance that whole experience, hopefully make it a little bit better. Yeah. Good. Anything else to add to that, Laurie, at all?
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah, great. Well, last month's project there, White River, Washington, which I really enjoyed. It was the theme was Babbling Brook, wasn't it? And I don't know if it was Ravi's suggestion or Ravi kicked it off, but it was like Babbling Brook on steroids, doing the river, and we injected another level of complexity with those rays, the sun rays in the top right corner, and I think everyone did really well with that. I think it was actually quite an advanced painting to do. There were lots of different watercolor techniques. Timing was really important, but everyone did really well, and the two figures as well, everyone did exceptionally well with that, and the boat. Yeah, it was brilliant, and I hope everyone enjoyed that. Our river scene. We will come back to rivers. I'm trying to circulate and try and make things different every month, and primarily taking a photo from our source library. So a contribution from one of our members, and I'll try and circulate, not stick to a particular member. So next month, it's Sandy and Riva Delgado. Let me just do a screen share of, and Sandy, would you like to say something about the scene? Oh, there we are. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yep.
So this is our August painting project for everyone, but only those obviously on a critique level will get a text or video critique from me. And the idea, the theme was steps. I think it was it Fauzia that mentioned it? I don't think she's on the call today, but yeah, so steps was the theme. And there were quite a few really nice photos contributed by a number of you in our library. And this is the one I chose. So we're on the other side of the Atlantic now. I think, is this Northern Italy, I guess, on the...
Yeah, it's a little town around Lake Garda.
Garda, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it was a rainy day, which is why it's so flat.
Oh, is that these little sort of the sort of dark stain on the steps? Is that rainwater? Possibly.
It could have been, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's fairly bright, but that sort of overcast sky, everything's been sort of freshened up with that bit of rain. The more I look at this photo, the more details I see, which is a bit of a danger for me, because I can see there's more steps there beyond the gate.
Yep.
And then I just spotted before we came
And
on.
over on the right too,
There's
yeah.
more steps there as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sandy.
There's
My pleasure.
two scooters up there. The is it the abutilon, the purple flower climbing tree, these carnations or yeah. Well, and I was thinking with this, well, we could stick with as is, that the kind of it's just rained and there's this sort of flatness to the scene, no shadows. Or alternatively, I was thinking, let's imagine the sun comes out, and which direction would the light come in from? Where would my shadows be? So I had a little bit of a play with a sketch earlier on. Let me just see if I've got that here. Hang on a second. New. Hang on a second. Let me just see if I've got it here.
I have attempted this once and it was a miserable failure.
Who is that?
Sandy, I attempted painting it one time and it just didn't look good.
Why didn't it work for you?
I put too much detail in. I tried to get all those steps.
Well, then let me take one theme then, as well as being steps. Let's do simplification. There's lots to it. Anyway, I don't know whether you can see this too well, but I was thinking two scenarios: sun coming from the left, sun coming from the right. I don't know whether you can make this out at all. Let me just zoom in a bit more there. Can you see that all right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you make out the so we got the, it's actually quite a nice composition because it's framed on the left and the right by those buildings. And then in the background, we've got that sort of building with what looks like a courtyard that's reached by some steps through the gates. So sun from the left, we've got the shadow, that strong shadow going maybe kind of a 45-degree angle there. And then I was thinking, well, Sandy might remember the scene a bit more, but maybe there's a little bit of shard of light coming down the top steps and lighting up the right-hand wall. when I drew this, I forgot those steps. I didn't see that detail. I didn't see the steps beyond the gate, didn't see the steps on the right. I just focused on these main steps running up the middle. So light coming across a few of those, the top ones, and over to the right, maybe hitting some of those lovely climbing plants on the right-hand side. That's my little sort of shape there. So that's from the left, and then from the right, which I think I might favor the sun coming from the light, sun coming from the right. And so just
I like that one.
Yeah, because then we've got
That pink building is really nice.
Yeah, which let me just go back. You mean the one in the distance?
The pink one on the left, that would be,
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it was pink. I
Yeah.
was thinking it was yellow and grey. I was looking at this bit here. Yeah, it's pink, isn't it? And it's actually quite nice against that sort of slate blue shutters.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm imagining a little bit of shadow coming across, shadow coming across from that planter, and maybe from that light, maybe a little bit from that balcony there, the roof. So that would all be possibly in shade. Well, we can just make it up. So that's what I might do. I'll probably change my mind over the weekend.
It's hard to know what to do with a focal point if we have to have a focal point.
Well, let me just erase these drawings. The focal point could be a figure. Let me just go back to a figure.
Not a boat.
Maybe we could have a figure in there. So let's just, perhaps there could be, just imagine a figure in there.
Perhaps a final stage of climbing a step which would accentuate the step.
Yeah, what, someone coming up the steps?
Or down, but at the very top.
Yeah, the thing
would suggest the descent or the ascent.
Exactly. I think the difficulty there I'm thinking about are the legs.
Yes.
And getting the feeling of, obviously, the legs mustn't be on the same step. One's got to be higher than the other. And that might be, unless we've got a reference photo, I'll look up some, but unless we have a reference photo of somebody climbing or descending, that might be a little bit difficult for some of us. Might be a bit difficult for me as well. So
for
brilliant
sure
idea though. Brilliant idea, because that kind of leads us into the scene. I'll think about that.
And if I may, Tim, that along with the shadows staggered along the steps would accentuate the steps, I think. Yeah.
So we've got, that sort of staggered, we can go sort of quite loose there, and then it sort of shoots up the left-hand side, and then that shadow may be coming from the rooftop there, or maybe not actually. But then that planter just casting some shadows as well. Yeah, we can play around with that. So I may well go for the sunny option. We're going to imagine the sun's come out, lighting the scene, and hopefully, is that okay for everyone? Do you like this scene? Want to give it a go? Yeah?
Yes.
Good. All right. Let me just get
well, one thing, a lot of times I think that I have introduced the sun, but never did, because I'm afraid to do a lot of mistakes, because I think it's very difficult to imagine where the shadow will be.
I know exactly what you mean, especially in the middle where the gates are, because there's these two supports either side of the gate, and then on the left-hand side, just thinking, the building on the right is casting the shadow. Where would that go? So I'm just kind of guessing here, Joseph, but you make a very valid point. So, well, we'll have a bit of fun. We're not trying to create something that's mathematically correct, with the angles and the lines. we're trying to create a piece of art and playing with the light and the dark in there. So I'm going really dark in that little, Sandy, was there a sort of little alleyway going up to the left,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's imagine it's really dark up there. And then that'd be quite a contrast with the tops of the steps that are catching some light. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this one. So just to confirm, it's going to be Sunday, the 31st of July. I put in my original post, I put 30th of July. And then, of course, Patreon immediately sends out all these emails to people saying it's the 30th, because that's the way it triggers that notification. So apologies for that. I confirm it is Sunday, the 31st at 8 p.m. London time, our normal time. Again, apologies for those of you that may be in different time zones. And over an hour and a half or so, we will attempt Riva del Garda. Yeah, have a bit of fun and answer your questions along the way. Are there any initial questions for those of you listening live? Any questions on the process?
I just want to ask you one thing, Tim, please. On the light coming from the lower one, is it the right?
Yeah, the right, yeah.
Right one. Yeah. Sorry, I had to just attend to a doorbell, so it might have been discussed. I was quite interested to see how you're going to approach these lovely flowering bushes on the right.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Would that be gone?
I'm not sure what's to the right of those, but I'm imagining, I don't know whether you can see my drawing,
Yes.
but I was imagining maybe just a little bit of light catching the lower ones and dark shadow behind those, Ravi.
Yes.
And then really keep it sort of quite loose in this area. But yeah, a little bit of light green there, contrasting with the dark, try and get them some soft and hard edges, and try and portray those sort of long strands of foliage that come out from that. I think it is an abutilon, I believe.
Is it called bougainvillea? I may not.
Oh, bougainvillea. Sorry.
Bougainvillea.
My mistake. Yeah, you're correct, Ravi. Yeah, bougainvillea.
Bougainvillea. It comes in different colors and very bright and beautiful colors.
Yeah, they really do light up a wall, and when they catch the sun, they're beautiful. Yeah, bougainvillea. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. A little bit of light catching some of those.
Great.
And maybe there are those planters, those kind of curved planters on some of the steps. Perhaps we could have one of those in, as well as the figure.
Yes, because apart from architecture and walls and steps, I think flowers are a huge part of that part of the world. Yeah. In the summer, all planters are out, the hanging baskets, the flowers on the walls. Yeah, makes a big difference. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that's to everyone's liking. Right. I think we're on to Q&A time, or any general comments, chat that anyone's got.
I'm really enjoying your plein air.
Oh yes, I am doing. Well, I have done a few of those now. I did 4 on a recent trip to France, which was a lane running into a little wood, and then not too far away from that, I found a lane. I'm not sure who owned the lane, but I just drove up. I was being attacked by mosquitoes on that one. That was quite difficult to do. And then I did the bridge over the River Dordogne, and then I went further up river and a bend in the river at a village called La Flay, which I call the fisherman's spot. And then back in the UK, I think I've done 2 here. No, there was Marshfield.
And the sheep.
The sheep, yes. And what was
and the Avon was the little
little river, which was a proper babbling brook. Yes, I will be doing more if weather permits and time permits. I will be going back to France shortly, but only for a short trip. I don't think I've got time to do another plein air there. But yeah, I like doing them, and yeah, I think that is true painting when you're able to get outside if the weather allows. And in the UK, it is quite challenging to do plein air. On that little River Avon one, I arrived at the scene and it was glorious sunshine, and then all of a sudden the sun went in and never came out again. So I had to kind of memorize the scene. Whereas if you've got a better climate, more consistent climate, then you don't have to have that. You don't have to rush or memorize what that scene was. Yes, so I really enjoyed those. I hope they're going down well. And of course, for Patreon, I post them first on Patreon and give you a little source photo and a photo of my painting as well. Yeah, do you like them? Are they good subjects?
Yeah, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah,
Wonderful, wonderful.
yeah, I like all the sound effects in the background. Which, I haven't got, when I'm doing the recording, I haven't got earphones, so I really don't know what the quality of the audio is going to be like. But when I get back home and I play it back, I hear all the frogs. There were the frogs in France, and they sound like they're laughing at me. And you wouldn't have heard the mosquitoes buzzing on the mosquito alley. And then there was the sheep. They just didn't stop. But when I first arrived, there was some bulls and cows to my left. The sheep were to the right. So, but the bulls, they wandered off to a shelter by a nearby tree up on top of the hill. But the sheep and the goats just didn't stop at all.
No.
And then the river, the little gentle, there's a little tiny sort of weir to my left, which was providing the sound effect to that. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. I will try and think of different ones. If you've got any ideas for a topic, another river, buildings, farmyard.
I like the combination of the forest and the buildings, putting them together, or and the bridges in the water, and I like structure with my foliage.
yeah. So more buildings then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less of that green stuff. Okay. Which is always a problem in watercolor, isn't it? Green. And if you see my plein air palette, I don't actually have a green there. So it's down to just lots of mixing and, the combination of the blue, whether it's a cobalt blue or an ultramarine blue. The yellows I've got a yellow ochre and cadmium yellow, and the combination of all those can actually produce quite a surprising range of shades of green. So
you have the ultramarine blue on that palette. I thought you just had the cobalt blue and the
earlier I think the earlier plein airs, it was ultramarine blue, and I've gone more to cobalt now.
You like that green better? Well,
I ran out of ultramarine blue, so I had to. So it's cobalt blue. But it doesn't, these colors, I often don't sort of think about them too much. It's just really playing around with these combinations, and just, I think the main thing with the greens is trying to go in darker than you think, because it does dry. And on some of the plein airs, the drying time is really, really quick. When it's a nice day, low humidity, bit of wind, it can be really difficult to do watercolors out there, but it's part of the, challenge of trying to produce something. Yeah, so I hope that's going down well, and I will be doing more.
Can I just ask you one small question related to this, Tim, please?
Yes.
Sure. Talking about the darks, unfortunately, the only time I get to paint is in artificial light when I got home, and I find it very difficult to assess how dark a color needs to be, because I know how important it is to pick up the lights and darks and all that. And would you give us some advice as to any good way of working out, how dark it should be? Don't want it black and don't want it too light, because once it dries, it's too late to do anything about it. Would you recommend that we try it on a testing paper and see, or whatever else?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Ravi. And I think when I look at beginners' paintings, quite often they are quite light and soft.
Yes.
And they miss that sort of impact of the darks against the lights. So it's a very good point. And of course, with watercolor, things generally dry lighter. So you apply the paint on the paper, and then infuriatingly, it dries lighter, doesn't it? And then going, just as you said, to go back on top of that, particularly if it's shadow,
yes,
it just ruins the freshness. And you see then with the transparency of watercolor, there's kind of two layers, and it just doesn't look right.
Yes.
Which is another sort of big beginner mistake, I think. So trying to get it right first time. By all means, a test bit of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, if you don't have it, use neutral tint or Payne's gray to add to a color to get that darker value. Go in darker than you think, because it is going to dry lighter. Then I guess practice. Also, maybe thinking about it, planning your pictures. So look at the image, select subjects where there is a bit of contrast there. So a sunny, like our project.
Yes.
For me, there weren't any darks there. I need the darks to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm imagining the sun comes out and I've got more contrast in there, the darks against the lights. So I don't know whether that answers your question in part.
It does, but may I just add, just ask?
But you're all right. You're the ones I've seen of yours. You've been all right with the recent ones I've seen.
Yes.
You're okay.
Yes, just in the darks, because I see that you add, sometimes cobalt blue and sometimes ultramarine blue. From your point of view, I know for your shadow colors, I just remember them, what you normally use. But otherwise, what makes a nice dark usually? Is it just the addition of neutral tint, or which will be the basic two colors?
Well, the basic colors would be a dark blue and a dark brown. So for me, it would be ultramarine blue and maybe a burnt umber or a burnt sienna. So those would be the two core colors. I then sometimes add in an alizarin crimson or a little bit of red, just so that it's not sort of too brown or
too blue.
So maybe 40% brown, 40% blue, and 20% alizarin crimson. That will give you quite a dark color if you don't add too much water to it.
Yeah.
To go to the next level beyond that, start with neutral tint and add something to it, a blue or a brown or an alizarin crimson, because otherwise it would just be too charcoaly gray and just uninteresting. You've got to add something to it if you're starting off with that neutral tint. A Payne's gray is a little bit, it's got a little bit of blue in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
I mean, just plan it, big brush, one application.
Yes.
And think about your edges as well. But yeah, get in some nice colors into those shadows and go be a bit bold, go darker than you think.
Okay. Thanks very much.
But you're doing all right, Ravi. Yours are good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good question. Thank you. Anyone for anything else?
Tim, I just wanted for anyone who's interested in this next members meetup, I looked on the calendar and it will probably be on August 19th, which is a Friday, 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, okay. Sounds like a good date.
Mm-hmm.
What time of
sorry.
day do you normally do that?
I think we did it the same time that you do the Pat chats, so
Correct.
Okay.
this time.
Yeah, is that okay with everyone?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
That isn't 3 weeks from today, huh?
Yeah, about
Yes, 12 should be.
Did
3
2
weeks.
weeks. Is that 3 weeks? Wait, what's today's date?
12th is 2 weeks.
What did I say?
We
19th?
are the 19th of.
No, it's the 12th. I have date dyslexia. I screw up dates all the time. So what is it? It's the 12th.
Not as bad as me. I got the.
August 12th.
Yeah. It affects us.
Maybe we could subject some topics for this chat, or not, or free.
I'm sorry, Joseph, could you say that again?
Some
Yes,
topics.
some
Suggestion
topics.
of an agenda.
Oh, yeah, if you
suggested
have any
topics.
topics, you can email them to me or post them. I always put my email in the posting. So I'll say this also for anyone who's listening, who's not on. If you want to get an invite from Zoom, so it goes automatically on your calendar, I need you to send me your email address because I can't do it otherwise. So I'll make that offer again in the posting.
Yeah. And I will duplicate it at that posting as well.
Very good.
I'll think of a
Yeah.
different. Does everyone use when you log into Patreon, do you see the categories at all, tags at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, maybe if what was your what was your wording for the this alternate Pat chat, Laurie? Were you
Timless.
I didn't like to say Timless. It makes me sad.
You did think of it. You did
There
suggest
is-
one. I thought it was a really good idea. I'm forgetting it.
It
now.
was,
No, there's a certain mice cat quality to saying Timless.
Yeah,
It's
Timless.
we could put that maybe in quotes. The Timless members chat.
Yeah, Timless members.
Tim, of course,
Oh.
welcome.
TMC. Well, we're trying. We'll try and think of something
we'll
a little
figure
bit
it
more amusing than that. All right. So I forgot. Now, was that the 19th or
The 12th.
the 12th?
Well,
2 weeks from today.
Yes, but people who listen to this might not know what today is.
That's true. It's Friday.
Tim, if I may.
Yeah.
Going back to the July Sandy steps and linking what Ravi was mentioning just now, I think the fact that we are introducing sunlight from one direction is good, generally, which is something I want to learn to convert an otherwise uninteresting photograph, not in this case, but in general. But
yeah.
There is, I think, another facet to what Ravi asked that might work well in this particular subject, which is shadow versus shade. Many of the angles of these buildings will be in shade, never receiving the sun, and there will also be shadows casts. So the various degrees of intensity of what Ravi was talking about might be a good opportunity to elaborate.
Yeah, definitely. And also the reflected light as well. I can imagine that the building in the distance with the diagonal shadow coming across, that might be being contaminated with maybe whatever's in the courtyard. You've got to think about that. And if we were there on a sunny day, we would see that more easily, but we have to try and use a bit of imagination. That's a very good point. Yeah. Shadows.
No, and also whether a surface in shade has a color over which you glaze another color, or you just paint the shadow color itself. These are nuances that you might.
Exactly. And well, an obvious example would be a shadow going across a road where there might be grass either side, and then the road surface is maybe blue or gray or something like that, you're going to get those two different shadow colors coming across. Typically a dark green for the shadow going over the grass, and then maybe another cool color for the shadow coming across the tarmac or the road. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, lots of things to think about. I'm going to have to gem up on my climbing figures now. Everyone is interested in introducing more and more difficult concepts into it. Anyway, it's all great fun. Good. Any more questions at all? I think we'll have to be Joseph next. So we're going to have to think about looking to September. Joseph, well, you've contributed so many nice photos. I'm going to have to think about that. So if anyone can think of a theme for September, after we've done river, we're doing steps. What could be September? Maybe well, actually no, your 12th might be a little bit too late. I'm kind of thinking about it now. As we do this project, I'm now planning for next month, early September. So if anyone's got any ideas as a theme or a topic, let me know. But it will be chosen from the source library. Okay.
Are there any graveyards in there?
We want to keep it nice and happy, I think.
Oh, okay.
We already did a graveyard.
I did Marshfield, the graveyard there, the sort of cemetery there. Which it's very interesting when you walk around. There was some graves there from soldiers that were killed in the First World War, and yeah, it was a really interesting site. Lovely place to be rested.
I've got tons of photos of Gettysburg.
All right, yeah, which should be very famous in the US. Yeah, we'll try and be a bit more upbeat, I think. There's so many bad things happening in the world. Let's go. Try and keep it. Yeah. So go on, Joseph.
Maybe as a suggestion, one thing is the subject. Maybe another thing that we could do every month is below the subject, try some technique. For example, whichever the subject is, next month, for example, try paint with granulation, and then work the subject with granulation, or try to do the subject with some kind of brushes. For example, in my case, I have paletinas. This one. Sometimes I work with this one. Sometimes I work with mop. No?
Yeah.
Then for me it's interesting, change the tools, because in this case I improve each one, and I'm then the
Joseph, we've had a suggestion from Barb for mountains, which I don't think Barb's got good audio there. Barb, can you just nod if you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Joseph, have you got any? I know there's lots of mountains behind where you are. Any mountains at all? Hills, big hills?
I have some mountain photos somewhere, I think.
I know you do.
Don't know if I posted them there, but
yeah. Well, we'll do you after Joseph, Barb. All right. You'll be October.
okay.
Joseph, along the lines of your suggestions, could you email me or give me a link to some suitable photo, maybe 3, 4, 5 photos that you think would make a good reference for that, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
About any subject?
Yeah, you choose.
Okay,
right.
well,
You take the lead on that one, but could you do that in the next week? Is that possible?
yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so you let me know, Joseph, and then I will make an executive decision on which one we do. Yeah, different brushes and techniques. That'd be great. So not a river and no steps.
I've got an additional request, Tim.
Yeah.
If you may consider quite moving away from what we're doing, steps and mountains and so. Would you consider doing a loose floral botanical?
Ooh.
I just tried one, so I would like to see you do it.
Wow. If you saw my garden, I don't like flowers. I go out and I cut them off.
Me too.
I do like.
It's okay.
Yes, I'll think about that, Ravi.
That's all right. I always wanted to do. I didn't know just how to.
I'd rather do one of your temples.
Okay, I've got loads of my own photographs. I'll upload them into the gallery.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
But we'll. I'm not discounting it. Okay.
No,
I've never done. Oh, did I do floral stuff in my teenage years? I might have done. But I've just gone on to like landscapes and the outdoor things.
Just a thought.
I tended to do floral stuff when I was starting out and doing still life. But to me, it just doesn't excite me very much.
That's okay.
I know they look nice, and you've got the lights and the darks and edges as well, and you can get really loose. And there are some artists that do lovely botanical stuff, either very tight or very loose. It's just not something I've not really got into. But I haven't discounted it, Ravi. Okay.
It's all right. We'll settle on temples.
And we'll need a little bit of history with it as well.
Absolutely.
We want to, gain a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, I traveled a lot in growing years, so all these mountains and places.
Yeah, your story about the trek as a kid.
Yes.
Having nightmares about that.
I was more or less dragged along.
Wow. Yeah.
I just remember very cold and very hungry.
Yeah. Well, it was really interesting to get that little bit of history. Yeah. So we'll do that, and then Barb, mountains, Barb.
Okay.
Maybe a bit of snow. That'll be sort of October time. Do we feel like a bit of snow? Maybe.
Yes, I quite liked doing the snow on the last temple. I'd never done snow.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
I never painted snow before, so it was a challenge for me. So
yeah. We did that temple, didn't we, in the Himalayas? That was
we did a long time. Yes, with the cloud coming down on that monastery.
Monastery. Remember that? Another mountain.
Yeah, and one before that you did somewhere else with the cloud coming down on
we did the one in Australia, the round top ones.
Yes, and there was another one you did on which there was a large cloud descending on a settlement.
That might have been the public workshops, not to.
Okay.
It
was a public workshop. Yes.
Yeah. So we have done mountains before, but not for some time. So we will revisit.
Yes.
The mountains. They're a brilliant idea. Yep. So any ideas? Let me know. Something might come up in the Timless Pat Chat. It might be a good thing for you to have a chat with that.
Just put an E in there and it becomes timeless.
Oh, good one.
Yeah,
good one.
Timeless. We'll call it. We'll settle on that one then. Good. Any more questions? Anyone? No? Are you all done and dusted? Well, let's. I think there were a few messages in chat, but it might have been just Barb just passing a few comments there. Okay, well, thanks all of you, those of you attending live, those of you watching the recording, sorry you couldn't make it. I'll hopefully catch up with a lot of you on our Crowdcast platform in a couple of days' time, in 50 hours time or 49 hours time. So have a nice weekend, and I will enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I'll catch up with you on Sunday.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you.
Have a nice evening, everyone. A nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.